For centuries, history has been written by those in power. Stories have been shaped by those who had the loudest voices, often leaving others unheard. In Africa, much of what the world believed for a long time came from outsiders, people who saw only a fraction of the truth and turned it into the whole story. But there is an old African proverb that reminds us of something important. If the lion does not tell his story, the hunter will. One woman understood this deeply, and because she refused to let others define Africa's narrative, the world started seeing the continent differently. This is the story of Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie was born in Enugu, Nigeria, and grew up in Nsukka, near the University of Nigeria. From a young age, she was a passionate reader. She devoured books from British and American authors, from Enid Blyton to Chinua Achebe. But something troubled her. As a child, she wrote stories inspired by what she read, and without realizing it, her characters were always white, living in foreign countries, eating foods like apples and drinking ginger beer, things that were not part of her own life in Nigeria. Then she discovered Chinua Achebe's Things Fall Apart. And for the first time, she saw an African story told by an African. It changed her. She realized that her world, her culture, her people had stories worth telling. But as she grew older, she noticed something. The world didn't see Africa the way she did. Most books about Africa, especially those written by Western authors, only focused on poverty, war, and sufferings. In movies, African characters were often portrayed as helpless, waiting to be saved. It was a single story, one that ignored Africa's beauty, diversity, and complexity. So she made it her mission to change that. Then, at just 26 years old, Chimamanda published her first novel, Purple Hibiscus. It was a deeply personal story about family, faith, and identity in Nigeria. Critics praised it, and it won international awards. Then came Half of a Yellow Sun, a novel that brought the forgotten history of Nigerian civil war to the global stage. It won the Orange Prize for fiction and was adapted into a film. With Americana, she explored themes of race, migration, and the African experiences in the West. The book became a global bestseller and was even picked up for a film adaptation by Lupita Nyong'o. Her books did something powerful. They reclaimed the African narrative. They reminded the world that Africa was more than just struggle. It was filled with love, resilience, ambition, and dreams. But Chimamanda didn't just stop at books. In 2009, she delivered a TED Talk titled The Danger of a Single Story. She spoke about how one-sided narratives could shape how people see others. She explained how Africans were often seen as poor and helpless because that was the only story people were told. She challenged the world to seek multiple perspectives, to understand that Africa was not one thing, but a continent of many stories, many voices. That TED Talk went viral. It has been viewed over 35 million times, making it one of the most influential speeches of the 21st century. And in 2012, her voice reached an even wider audience when Beyoncé featured her words in the song Flawless, bringing her message to millions who had never even heard of her before. Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's story teaches us a powerful lesson. If we don't tell our own stories, someone else will tell them for us, and they might not tell the truth. Representation matters. Seeing yourself in books, films, and media shapes how you see yourself and how the world sees you. The true story of Africa or any place can never be told in just one voice. We must embrace the diversity of experiences. So in conclusion, because of Chimamanda, millions of people now see Africa beyond stereotypes. She reclaimed the narrative and inspired a new generation of African writers to do the same. So if you have a story, tell it. If your truth is being misrepresented, speak up. Because if you don't, the hunter will tell it for you, and that will be very bad.